Hello all, welcome to Lucid Means. Today we are going to discuss about the Sustainable Development Goals from the Indian perspective. This assessment is based on the recent SDG India Index Baseline Report 2018 released by Niti Aayog. And here we are trying to cover this topic in a comprehensive way which you could use for your general studies papers including ethics and for optional papers like sociology, public administration and so on. This is a sixth part of the series in which we will try to cover 4 goals and we will go into the remaining ones in the coming parts. Okay. So, let us start with goal 11, sustainable cities and communities. This SDG is closely interrelated to goals 1, 3, 5, 6, 9, 10, 12 and 16. It aims to promote inclusive and sustainable urbanization by providing access to safe and affordable housing, public transport, basic services and green public spaces through improved urban planning and management. It also aims to reduce the adverse per capita environmental impact of cities and also the number of deaths and direct economic losses caused by disasters. The best performing state and UT are Goa and Andaman and Nicobar Islands. So, what about the targets? The first one is by 2030, ensure access for all to adequate, safe and affordable housing and basic services and upgrade slums. The next one is by 2030, provide access to safe, affordable, accessible and sustainable transport systems for all, improving road safety, notably by expanding public transport with special attention to the needs of those in vulnerable situations, women, children, persons with disabilities and older persons. The third one, by 2030, enhance inclusive and sustainable urbanization and capacities for participatory, integrated and sustainable human settlement, planning and management in all countries. The fourth one is that strengthen efforts to protect and safeguard the world's cultural and natural heritage. Fifth one, by 2030, significantly reduce the number of deaths and the number of people affected and substantially decrease the direct economic losses relative to the global gross domestic product caused by disasters, including water-related disasters with a focus on protecting the poor and people in vulnerable situations. The sixth one, by 2030, reduce the adverse per capita environmental impact of cities, including by paying special attention to air quality, municipal and other waste management. Next, by 2030, provide universal access to safe, inclusive and accessible green and public spaces, particularly for women and children, older persons and persons with disabilities. There are 3 sub-targets and the first one is support positive economic, social and environmental links between urban, peri-urban and rural areas by strengthening national and regional development planning. Second one, by 2020, substantially increase the number of cities and human settlements, adopting and implementing integrated policies and plans towards inclusion, resource efficiency, mitigation and adaptation to climate change, resilience to disasters and develop and implement in line with Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction 2015 to 2030. And the last one is support least developed countries, including through financial and technical assistance for sustainable and resilient buildings utilizing local materials. So, where India stands? First, on houses completed under Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. The target is to meet 100% of housing demand under Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, but India has to go a long way to achieve this ambitious target with the current achievement at only 3.32%. Among the states, Goa has met 35.71% of its housing demand and among UTs, Dadra and Nagar Haveli leads with 17.48% only. Next one about slum households. 5.41% of urban households in India live in slums. Among the states, Andhra Pradesh has the highest percentage of its urban population living in slums with 12.04%, and among UTs, Puducherry has the highest slum rate with 11.58% in slums, and the state closest to the target is Kerala. Next one is door-to-door waste collection. Proper and established waste management is an important criterion for sustainable cities. 5 states and 4 UTs have achieved this target of 100% door-to-door waste collection. On an average, across India, 73.58% of the wards are collecting 100% of waste from door to door. Next one is waste processed. Only 24.8% of total waste generated gets treated. The best performer among the state is Chhattisgarh with 74%, and among UTs, Delhi leads with the processing of 55% of its waste. Next, what are the Government of India initiatives? Here we will discuss only the most important flagship schemes on the go, but you can find the ministry-wide sorted list from our material. So please go through the material to find that bunch, and we believe that it will help you a lot. So first one is Atal Mission for Regeneration and Urban Transformation, or simply AMRUT. It aims to provide basic services and amenities like water supply, sewage, urban transport, etc. in cities to improve quality of life, especially for the poor and vulnerable. Next one is Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Urban. To address housing requirements of the urban poor, including the slum dwellers, this initiative is included. This supports construction of houses with up to 30 square meter carpet area with basic civic infrastructure. Next one is that it is proposed to be taken up through various program channels like the rehabilitation of slum dwellers with participation of private developers using land as a resource. It also aims at promotion of affordable housing through credit-linked subsidy or through partnership with public and private sectors. Next one is Smart Cities Mission. To achieve the vision of improving the ease of living, particularly for poor, women, elderly and differentially able people, this mission is included. Strategic components of area-based development in smart cities are city improvement, that is retrofitting, city renewal, that is redevelopment, and city extension, that is greenfield development. As well as it also applies smart solutions covering large parts of the city. So, how India could achieve the target? Promotion of affordable housing for economically weaker section through credit-linked subsidy scheme, public-private partnership, and subsidy for beneficiary-led individual house construction has to be strengthened. Next one is upgradation of slum with participation of private developers is also very important. Improvements in urban planning and management practices, safeguard the heritage and protecting the citizenry against natural disasters, provision for separate toilets and bathing facilities for men and women are also very important. Improve capacity of urban planning and design and the provision of training for urban planners at national, subnational and local levels has to be carried out. Also, setting up of centers of excellence like a COE in reputed academic and research institutions so that it could address urban development issues at national, state and local levels and provide required support to state and local governments. Improving resource use and focusing on reducing pollution and poverty. Next one is development of renewable energy and striving for carbon neutral cities. Next one is increasing photosynthetic spaces as part of green infrastructure and improving eco-efficiency is very important. Reform private sector finance investment strategies to support integrated and sustainable urban development like sustainable urban transport, low carbon buildings and resilient infrastructure has to be included. Should foster the creation, promotion and enhancement of open, user-friendly and participated data platforms using technological and social tools available. Also, the Indian government should collaborate with other governments to find solutions to future mobility needs that minimize environmental impacts while making transportation safer and more affordable for all. Also should use technological expertise to help build capacity of building owners to deliver solutions to improve energy efficiency in buildings. Also should advocate for physical compactness and promote social inclusiveness. Another important one is make a suitable waste policy, that is by reducing the amount of waste generated and maximize recycling and reuse. Next one is phasing out landfilling to non-recyclable and non-recoverable waste. Also ensure full implementation of the waste policy targets in all member states. So with that we come to the end of goal 11 and we are moving on to next one like goal 12, that is sustainable consumption and production. This SDG is interlinked to goals 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 11, 13, 14 and 15. It emphasizes on doing more with less. That is thereby ensuring that the needs of the present generation are fulfilled without compromising the needs of the future generations. It promotes resource efficiency, green economics and sustainable infrastructure. It also focuses on reducing degradation and pollution and minimizing waste. It calls for environmentally sound management of chemicals and all waste throughout their life cycle, efficient use of natural resources, as well as ensuring spread of information and awareness on sustainable practices and lifestyles. So what are the targets? First one is implement the 10-year framework of programs on sustainable consumption and production. All countries taking action, with developed countries taking the lead, taking into account the development and capabilities of developing countries. Next one is by 2030, achieve the sustainable management and efficient use of natural resources. Third, by 2030, halve the per capita global food waste at the retail and consumer levels and reduce food losses along production and supply chains, including post-harvest losses. Fourth one is by 2020, achieve the environmentally sound management of chemicals and all waste throughout their life cycle in accordance with agreed international frameworks and significantly reduce their release to air, water and soil in order to minimize their adverse impacts on human health and environment. Next one is by 2030, substantially reduce waste generation through prevention, reduction, recycling and reuse. Sixth, encourage companies to adopt sustainable practices. Next one is to promote public procurement practices that are sustainable in accordance with national policies and priorities. Eighth, by 2030, ensure that people everywhere have the relevant information and awareness for sustainable development and lifestyles in harmony with nature. There are 3 sub-targets, and the first one supports developing countries to strengthen their scientific and technological capacity to move towards more sustainable patterns of consumption and production. Second one, develop and implement tools to monitor sustainable development impacts for sustainable tourism that creates jobs and promotes local culture and products. And the last one is rationalize inefficient fossil fuel subsidies that encourage wasteful consumption by removing market distortions. So, where India stands? India being the second most populous country in the world, it is home to about 17.5% of world population with a meager 2.4% of world area. This makes it necessary to have a comprehensive policy framework aimed at achieving resource efficiency, reduction in waste and pollutant activities, and adoption of technological focusing on renewable resources. To encourage sustainable practices require cultural and attitudinal shifts supported by national policies. Government of India's policies like National Policy on Biofuels aims to achieve sustainable consumption and production. So what are the Government of India initiatives? As I have already said, here we will discuss only about the most important schemes and programs, but you could find the detailed ministry-wise sorted list from the material given. So please go through that, okay? So first one about National Policy on Biofuels. It was introduced in 2009 by Ministry of New and Renewable Energy to promote use of biofuels in the country. The aim is to accelerate use of biofuels as a substitute to fossil fuels for transportation and other stationary applications as well. This is focused to contribute towards building energy security, mitigating climate change, as well as creating new employment opportunities while leading to environmentally sustainable development. Next one is National Clean Energy Fund. It was created in 2010-11 to promote research and facilitate investment in projects on development of clean energy technologies, renewable and alternate energy initiatives, and environmental management in the areas surrounding energy sector projects. The fund was created by levying a clean energy cess, that is of Rs 50 on every ton of coal produced or imported. So, how to achieve the target? By India. First and important one is to educate local communities, particularly youths, on the importance of environmental conservation to ensure natural resources are conserved for the future generation. Provide training on improved production practices that avoid destruction of natural resources like conservation agriculture practices to improve land productivity. Also should support communities to adapt viable alternatives to improve and diversify income. That is with establishing micro enterprises and improve access to markets to reduce dependence on extractive activities. Also should enhance access to more efficient technologies to reduce community impact on the environment. For example, fuel efficient cook stoves to reduce emissions and pressure on local forests for firewood. Next one, by implementing product portfolio analysis tools to understand environmental and social footprints of products within lifestyles as well as production. Innovation must align products and applications to appropriately address sustainability megatrends. Also should develop innovative business models such as moving from selling products to selling services to retain ownership of the products and help close the material loop. Also enable sustainable consumption by developing innovative solutions that can reduce energy need in usage and educate consumers about these benefits. Also should reduce manufacturing impacts by substituting virgin raw materials in products with post-consumer materials through recycling and upcycling. Another important one is applying modular design, so products' constituent parts will be easily separated and either reused without further processing or easily recycled near the point of disposal. Significantly reduce waste and ensure that any unavoidable waste is utilized to the fullest degree. That is with organic waste as fuel or fertilizer is an example. Next one is circular production and consumption pathways that can reduce pollution. Should strengthen capacity building, technical and financial support. Enhance stakeholder involvement, especially subnational actors, the private sector and changing consumption behavior of societies. Another one is monitoring system and indicators needs to be developed that integrate natural resources, socio-economic development and policies from process to impact. Also, appropriate policy tools including regulations, taxes and subsidies will trigger corporate decisions on green innovation investments and encourage green consumption. Should develop a 10-year framework of programs on consumer information, sustainable tourism and sustainable lifestyles and education, which will become more important. Successful partnerships for SDG 12 will necessarily include industry to achieve scale through wide-scale implementation on the supply side. Changing consumer behavior is very important as it is adapting operations of corporations, including their overall business model if needed, as they have a significant impact on how resources are used and consumer preferences and markets shaped. First, take strategies to change practices within offices that can then have a cumulative impact in a citywide scale. So with that, we come to the end of goal 12 and next one is goal 13, that is climate action. This SDG is closely interrelated to goals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14 and 15. It aims to integrate climate change measures into national policies and strategies. It also aims to plan and promote mechanisms for raising capacity for effective climate change related planning and management. So what about the targets? First one is to strengthen resilience and adaptive capacity to climate change hazards and natural disasters in all countries. Second one, integrate climate change measures into national policies, strategies and planning. Next one is to improve education, awareness raising and human and institutional capacity on climate change mitigation, adaptation, impact reduction and early warning. There are two sub-targets and the first one is to implement the commitment undertaken by developed country parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change to a goal of mobilizing jointly $100 billion annually by 2020 from all sources to address the needs of developing countries in the context of meaningful mitigation actions and transparency on implementation and fully operationalize the Green Climate Fund through its capitalization as soon as possible. And the last one is to promote mechanisms for raising capacity for effective climate change related planning and management. So where India stands in this goal? India has great geographic diversity and a variety of climate regimes and regional and local weather conditions which are vulnerable to climate change. This is manifested in floods, droughts as well as risk from tsunamis and cyclones experienced in coastal areas. India is vulnerable to climate-induced risk and it was one of the three countries most hit by disaster in 2015 with economic losses amounting to $3.3 billion. India's National Action Plan on Climate Change is an example of government's commitment to building adaptive capacity to climate-related hazards. The emissions intensity of India's GDP is reduced by 12% between 2005 to 2010 and in October 2015, India made a commitment to reduce the emissions intensity of its GDP by 20 to 25% from its 2005 levels by 2020 and by 33 to 35% by 2030. On October 2016, India formally ratified the historic Paris Agreement. So, what about the Government of India initiatives? So, I am repeating again, please refer our material attached to get the detailed ministry-wise sorted list of schemes and programs, and here we are discussing only the major ones. Okay. So, the first one is National Action Plan on Climate Change or NAPCC. It outlines the comprehensive strategy to deal with climate change related issues and events and builds on the development and use of advanced technologies. At the core of NAPCC are 8 national missions like National Solar Mission, National Mission for Enhanced Energy Efficiency, National Mission on Sustainable Habitats, National Water Mission, National Mission for Sustaining the Himalayan Ecosystem, National Mission for Green India, National Mission for Sustainable Agriculture, and last, National Mission on Strategic Knowledge on Climate Change. So, the very next one is National Air Quality Monitoring Program or NAMP. The Central Pollution Control Board, in association with state pollution control boards or pollution control committees, monitors air quality across the country under National Air Quality Monitoring Program. It comprises 680 monitoring stations located in 300 cities or towns, covering 29 states and 6 union territories. Grants are being provided to state pollution control boards, environmental departments, central or state research institutes, and other government agencies or organizations with the aim of strengthening their technical capabilities to achieve the objective of management and control of pollution. So, how India could achieve the targets? India should source all electricity the company consumes at its facilities from renewable sources such as wind, solar or hydro, or install renewable energy generation capacity on site. Should retrofit lighting systems of the country's facilities to energy efficient LED lighting. Should increase investment in innovation to improve efficiency of country's product portfolio, thereby enabling customers to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions. Also, India should invest in carbon capture and storage technology to capture emissions produced from the use of fossil fuels in electricity generation and industrial processes. It also prevents carbon dioxide from entering the atmosphere. Should reduce greenhouse gas emission from transport operations with abatement levers such as reducing the carbon footprint through great fuel efficiency, local sourcing, modal shift to lower carbon modalities like modular transport, improving container utilization, warehouse optimization, etc. Also should understand climate risk and build resilience into country's assets and supply chain. Should expand sustainable forest management through responsible sourcing practices and product substitution. Helping more vulnerable regions adapt to climate change must go hand in hand with efforts to integrate disaster risk measures into national strategies. Improving education, awareness raising, and human and institutional capacity with respect to climate change mitigation, adaptation, impact reduction, and early warning has to be implemented. Implementation of Paris Agreement is essential for the achievement of Sustainable Development Goals and provides a roadmap for climate actions that will reduce emissions and build climate resilience. With that, we are coming to the end of Goal 13 and we are moving on to the next one, that is Goal 14, that is Life Below Water. This SDG is closely interrelated to Goals 1, 2, 8, 12 and 13. It commits countries to conserve and sustainably use oceans, seas and marine resources. It focuses on preventing marine pollution, ending illegal and destructive fishing practices, and sustainably managing and protecting marine and coastal ecosystems while increasing scientific knowledge, research and transfer of marine technology to improve marine health. So, what about the targets? First one, by 2025, prevent and significantly reduce marine pollution of all kinds, in particular from land-based activities, including marine debris and nutrient pollution. Second one, by 2020, sustainably manage and protect marine and coastal ecosystems to avoid significant adverse impacts, including by strengthening their resilience and take actions for their restoration in order to achieve healthy and productive oceans. Third one, minimize and address the impacts of ocean acidification, including through enhanced scientific cooperation at all levels. Fourth one, by 2020, effectively regulate harvesting and end overfishing, illegal and unreported and unregulated fishing and destructive fishing practices, and implement science-based management plans in order to restore fish stocks in the shortest time feasible, at least to the levels that can produce maximum sustainable yield as determined by their biological characteristics. Fifth one, by 2020, conserve at least 10% of coastal and marine areas consistent with national and international law and based on best available scientific information. Sixth one, prohibit certain forms of fisheries subsidies which contribute to overcapacity and overfishing. Eliminate subsidies that contribute to illegal unreported and unregulated fishing. Seventh one, by 2030, increase the economic benefits to small island developing states and least developed countries from the sustainable use of marine resources, including through sustainable management of fisheries, aquaculture and tourism. There are three sub-targets, and the first one helps to increase scientific knowledge, develop research capacity and transfer marine technology, taking into account the Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission criteria and guidelines on the transfer of marine technology. Next one, provides access for small-scale fishers to marine resources and markets. The last one is enhance the conservation and sustainable use of oceans and their resources. This should be by implementing international law as reflected in UN clause, which provides legal framework for the conservation and sustainable use of oceans and the resources as recalled in the future we want. So, where India stands? Maritime sector in India has been the backbone of the country's trade and has grown manifold over the years. The first Maritime Summit was organized in the country in April 2016. More than 4,500 delegates from across 40 countries participated in the summit. To harness India's 7,500 km long coastline, 14,500 km of potentially navigable waterways and strategic locations on key international maritime trade routes, the Government of India is laying emphasis on promoting blue economy through ambitious projects like Sagamala, also known as the Blue Revolution, which aims to promote port-led development and sustainable development of coastal communities through skill development and livelihood generation activities, fisheries development, coastal tourism, etc. Another one is to conserve marine ecosystems. The government has undertaken a national plan for conservation of aquatic ecosystems. Coastal and marine biodiversity protection is a key area for the focus of India. So what are the Government of India initiatives? So please refer the material for the detailed order list as I above said. And now, National Plan for Conservation of Aquatic Ecosystems is a common regulatory framework and the principal objective of which is holistic conservation, restoration and sustainable use of resources of lake and wetlands, adopting an integrated and multidisciplinary approach. Next one is Project Sagamala, part of India's National Perspective Plan for the comprehensive development of India's coastline and maritime sector. This is a very good project. The project has four broad objectives. First one, modernizing port infrastructure, enhancing their capacity and adding new ports. Second, improving port connectivity through rail corridors, freight-friendly expressways and inland waterways. Third one, developing port-proximate industrial clusters and coastal economic zones to reduce logistic cost and time of XM and domestic cargo. Fourth one, promoting sustainable development of coastal communities through skill development and livelihood generation activities, fisheries development and coastal tourism, etc. Next one is mangrove forest management. The Sundarbans mangroves located in Bay of Bengal were the first in the world to be put under scientific management. There has been an increase of 112 square kilometer in the mangrove cover of the country as compared to the previous assessment. Further in Gujarat, more than 15,000 hectares of mangroves have been planted through active participation of local communities under the Integrated Coastal Zone Management Project. India is a part of a regional initiative, Mangroves for the Future, being coordinated by UNDP and the IUCN. India has 25 marine protected areas in the peninsular region and 106 in islands, and 4 major coral reefs have been identified in the country for intensive conservation and management. Various national and subnational legislations are in place for management and protection of coastal and marine environment. India has also ratified numerous international conventions related to the use of oceans and their resources, including United Nations Convention on the Law of Sea. An online mechanism for predicting the movement of oil spills, the Online Oil Spill Advisory System, was launched in 2015. Revised National Oil Spill Disaster Contingency Plan 2015 reflects the important national regulations as well as current international norms. Levels of marine pollution are being monitored at various locations along the country's coastline through the Coastal Ocean Monitoring and Prediction System. Marine observation system along the coast is to gain better understanding of coastal process and monitor water quality. So, how India could achieve the target? First one is to track the life cycle of products and materials in order to understand how they are disposed and which products could likely find their way into marine environments. Next one is record and disclose information on the chemical and material usage within products, packaging and processing systems to facilitate closing the loop. Next one is to improve resource efficiency by altering the design, manufacture or use of products and packaging to reduce the amount of waste that could potentially enter the environment. Improve resource efficiency by generating value from waste. Replace, limit or prohibit the use of certain chemicals, additives or materials that could prevent closing the loop or lead to nutrient pollution or chemical and physical hazards if they happen to reach marine ecosystems. Prevent waste mismanagement or littering that could pollute the marine environment. Raise consumer awareness on effective ways to properly dispose of their waste to discourage littering and promote responsible behavior. Prohibit practices that put marine species and resources at further risk of harm, exploitation or depletion. Contribute to the development of waste management technologies that minimize the use of clean water. Should utilize a value chain approach to create connections between the design, packaging, marketing and recycling of materials with the goal of reducing their environmental impacts at the end of their life cycle. Also will require an international scientific partnership, regulation of harvesting and fishing, and enhance our research and knowledge on issues critical to the survival of life below water. So there ends our video for today, and next one will be the last part and we will release it soon. So that's all, and thanks for watching.